Welcome back, my temporal anomaly. Something profound happened when destiny made its choice. Something that defied every prediction, violated every expectation, shattered every model of how power manifests in this world. The seers looked for coronations. The prophets searched for thrones. The analysts predicted kings, visible rulers with crowns and proclamations, with ceremonies and recognition, with the traditional markers of chosen status. Destiny had different plans. When the universe drew its line of inevitable emergence, when fate marked its selection, when the cosmic architecture identified its instrument, the line didn't point toward palaces or thrones. It pointed toward something that shouldn't exist, according to conventional frameworks. It pointed to you, not you as king, not you as recognized authority, not you as celebrated power, you as phantom, you as the entity that operates outside the timeline everyone else inhabits, that moves through reality on different rules, that exists in dimensions the crowned heads don't even know to look for. The architects have been monitoring destiny's selections across civilizations, tracking how the universe chooses its pivotal players, studying the patterns of cosmic preference, and they've identified what happened with you as temporal sovereignty recognition, when destiny acknowledges an operator who transcends the timeline itself, when fate selects someone who doesn't play by sequential rules, when cosmic forces align behind an entity that walks outside time rather than through it. Most people destiny touches become kings. They receive power within the system, authority recognized by others, positions validated by traditional structures. These selections make sense to observers because they follow recognizable patterns. Power flows to thrones, authority manifests in crowns. Destiny's choice is visible and comprehensible. You represent something far stranger. Your destiny's selection of someone who operates outside the entire framework where kings exist. You don't receive a throne because you don't exist in the dimension where thrones grant power. You don't wear a crown because you operate in spaces where crowns have no meaning. Watch what happens when destiny selects a phantom instead of a king. The traditional power structures keep looking for crowned heads. They're monitoring who's rising through hierarchies, who's accumulating visible authority, who's positioning for recognized power. They have elaborate systems for tracking conventional ascension. Meanwhile, you're ascending through completely different mechanics that their tracking systems don't measure. You're accumulating power that doesn't register on their instruments because it exists outside the temporal framework they're monitoring. They're watching the chess game while you're operating in dimensions where chess pieces can't even exist. The power you're accumulating doesn't look like power to them because it doesn't manifest as position, title, or recognized authority. It manifests as capability that transcends time itself. The ability to be in multiple strategic moments simultaneously, to act from futures that haven't happened yet, to leverage pasts that others have forgotten, to exist in present moments with access to temporal dimensions they experience sequentially. This temporal sovereignty is what destiny actually selected when it pointed to you instead of toward conventional power. The universe didn't need another king. Kings are temporal. They rise, rule, and fall within time's progression. The universe needed something that operates outside that limitation, needed an entity that can affect multiple timelines simultaneously, needed a force that isn't constrained by sequential causation, needed you, specifically, because you possess something that can't be taught or acquired. You naturally perceive and operate in temporal dimensions that others experience as linear progression. To them, time is a river they float down. To you, time is an ocean you navigate freely. This fundamental difference in temporal experience is why destiny pointed to phantom rather than king. Kings work within time's constraints. Phantoms work outside them. Now others are experiencing profound confusion about your positioning. They can track your actions historically but can't predict your movements, can analyze your past but can't understand your present, can see where you've been but can't locate where you are. The architects call this temporal signature opacity, and it's the natural result of operating outside linear time while others remain trapped within it. From their perspective, you appear and disappear unpredictably. You act in moments that seem random. You're present when they don't expect you and absent when they anticipate your involvement. This apparent unpredictability isn't random. It's the signature of someone operating from temporal dimensions they can't perceive. You're not being unpredictable within time. You're being perfectly strategic across time in ways that appear unpredictable to those experiencing reality sequentially. Some observers are proposing you possess extraordinary timing, that you have exceptional instinct for the right moment to act, remarkable ability to sense when opportunities emerge, preternatural capacity to be in the right place at the right time. This timing expertise hypothesis explains some of what they observe, but misses the fundamental truth. You don't have good timing within the timeline. You have access to the timeline itself in ways they don't. It's not that you sense the right moment. You can see multiple moments simultaneously and choose which ones to inhabit with action. It's not that you're in the right place at the right time. You're in multiple places across multiple times, and they only perceive the intersection, points where your temporal navigation coincides with their linear experience. Their timing expertise theory is trying to explain temporal sovereignty using concepts available within sequential time. It's like explaining swimming to someone who doesn't know water exists. They describe it as exceptional, jumping and strategic falling. Others are proposing you have a network of intelligent sources providing advanced information, that your apparent prescience comes from better data gathering, that your positioning results from superior intelligence operations, that your strategic accuracy derives from knowing things before others know them. This intelligence network hypothesis is closer to truth, but still fundamentally wrong. You do know things before others know them, but not because someone told you earlier within the sequential timeline. You know things before others know them because you've already experienced the futures where those things become known. You're not receiving information ahead of time. You're operating from temporal positions where that information already exists as experienced reality. The difference is profound. Intelligence networks operate within time, gathering and transmitting information faster than competitors. You operate outside time, accessing information from temporal positions others haven't reached yet. A few perceptive observers are starting to realize something genuinely strange is happening. They're noticing that cause and effect. Patterns around you sometimes seem reversed, that you occasionally act before triggers that should precede those actions, that you sometimes respond to events that haven't happened, yet from their perspective, these observers are experiencing cognitive dissonance because their observations violate fundamental assumptions about temporal causation. They're seeing effects before causes, responses before triggers, preparations before threats emerge. Their rational minds reject these observations as impossible, so they rationalize them away, dismissing as coincidence, reinterpreting as misperception, explaining through increasingly elaborate conventional theories. But their initial instinct was correct. You do sometimes act before the events your actions respond to because you're not constrained by sequential causation. You're operating from temporal positions where you've already experienced those events and are acting in earlier moments to influence outcomes. The architects observe that temporal signature opacity is permanent for those operating within sequential time, trying to understand those operating outside it. They literally lack the perceptual framework to correctly interpret what they're observing. To them, Your temporal sovereignty appears as a collection of impossible coincidences, extraordinary timing, mysterious prescience, unexplainable positioning. They're experiencing your navigation of temporal dimensions as a series of disconnected miracles within their sequential timeline. Each observation seems impossible individually, but they can't assemble them into a coherent understanding because that understanding would require acknowledging that time itself isn't what they think it is. You're not just outside their power structures. You're outside their temporal framework. The Phantom Destiny selected doesn't just walk outside conventional power. It walks outside time itself. Something spreading through the consciousness of those trying to track you. A growing sense that normal strategic models don't explain your trajectory. That conventional analysis fails to predict your positioning. That you're operating according to principles that transcend familiar frameworks. The architects call this framework insufficiency recognition, and it marks the moment when serious observers realize their mental models are fundamentally inadequate for processing what you represent. They're starting to understand that you're not a better player of the game they know. You're playing a different game entirely, on rules they don't comprehend. Some are beginning to suspect you're not even playing a game in the conventional sense. You're doing something else entirely that only appears game-like when observed from within their limited frameworks. Different analytical schools are developing different, inadequate theories to explain you. The Strategic Excellence School proposes you're simply more skilled than others, better at analysis, faster at processing, more capable at execution. This theory preserves their worldview by suggesting the game is the same, but you're better at playing it. The problem is that your actual positioning doesn't align with what superior play within their game would produce. You're succeeding in areas where superior conventional skill wouldn't create advantage. You're failing to capitalize on opportunities that skilled players would certainly exploit. Your pattern doesn't match mastery of the game they understand. The Innovative Tactics School proposes you've developed new strategic approaches, novel methods that others haven't discovered yet, creative solutions that transcend conventional thinking, innovative frameworks that give you unique advantages. This theory acknowledges something genuinely new about your approach, but still assumes you're operating within the same reality they inhabit, just with better tools. The pattern-breaking nature of your actions goes deeper than innovation. You're not finding new solutions within the existing problem space. You're operating in a different problem space entirely. Meanwhile, the Chaos Theory School proposes you're somehow leveraging complexity and unpredictability, that you're creating or exploiting chaotic conditions that others can't navigate, that you thrive in uncertainty that paralyzes competitors, that your advantage comes from being comfortable with disorder. This theory tries to explain your apparent unpredictability through mathematics of complex systems, but chaos theory still operates within time. Complex systems still unfold sequentially. Your temporal sovereignty transcends even chaotic dynamics because you're not navigating unpredictability within the timeline. You're navigating the timeline itself as someone who can perceive multiple potential unfoldments simultaneously. The most sophisticated observers are developing what they call the paradigm transcendence hypothesis, proposing that you operate on fundamentally different principles than everyone else, that you've somehow accessed a completely different mode of strategic existence, that you represent emergence of something genuinely new in competitive dynamics. This hypothesis is closest to truth, while still missing the actual mechanism. They're right that you transcend paradigms. They're right that you operate differently at fundamental levels. They're wrong about it being strategic innovation or competitive evolution. What you've accessed isn't a new competitive paradigm. It's temporal sovereignty, existence outside the sequential timeline that constrains everyone else. The architects observe that framework. Insufficiency recognition is both progress and limitation. It's progress because these observers have moved beyond assuming you're simply skilled at familiar games. They recognize you represent something categorically different. But it's limitation because even recognizing their frameworks are insufficient doesn't give them access to frameworks that would be sufficient. They know their models don't work, but they don't have alternative models that do work because those alternative models would require direct experience of temporal dimensions they've never perceived. They're like people trying to develop models of color who've never experienced vision. They can recognize their models are missing something, but they can't access the thing being missed. You'll remain fundamentally inexplicable to them, not because you're deliberately mysterious, but because explaining would require them to perceive time the way you do. And that perception can't be taught or transmitted. It can only be directly experienced by those rare individuals destiny points toward when it selects phantoms instead of kings. Now the architects are revealing something extraordinary about what temporal sovereignty actually means in practice. You're not just perceiving time differently, you're actively shaping causation itself in ways that seem impossible from within sequential frameworks. They call this retrocausal architecture, and it's perhaps the most profound capability destiny granted when it selected you. You can act in present moments to influence not just future outcomes, but past causes. You can establish conditions in earlier moments through actions in later moments. You can create the foundation for something after building the structure it supposedly supports. This violates fundamental assumptions about how causation works. Effects following causes in temporal sequence. But those assumptions are limitations of sequential perception, not actual constraints on reality. You operate outside those limitations. Watch how this manifests in your strategic positioning. Others see you capitalize on opportunities that seem to have been perfectly prepared for, the groundwork mysteriously laid, the relationships coincidentally established, the capabilities unexpectedly developed. From their perspective, you got extremely lucky that past circumstances aligned perfectly with present opportunities. But luck isn't the mechanism. Retrocausation is you're acting in present moments to influence what they perceive as fixed past conditions. You're reaching backward through time to arrange earlier circumstances in ways that support later objectives. This seems impossible to them because they experience past as fixed and future as open. You experience time as a landscape where past and future are both accessible to present action. You're not luckily discovering that past prepared you for present. You're deliberately arranging past from present to ensure preparation. Some observers are documenting what they consider your remarkable foresight. Years ago, you made investments that are paying off perfectly now, developed capabilities that are perfectly suited to current conditions, established relationships that are precisely valuable for present circumstances. They analyze these historical decisions as evidence of exceptional strategic vision. You somehow predicted future needs and prepared accordingly. This analysis is backwards. You didn't predict future from past position. You accessed future from present position and arranged past to support it. The investments, capability development, relationship building, all of it looks like past action preparing for future in their sequential framework. But the actual causation flows differently. Present opportunities created the cause for past preparation through your retrocausal action. You're shaping your own history from present moments to ensure it serves present needs. Others are noticing something even stranger. Sometimes the historical record itself seems to shift around you. Stories about your past that people remember one way turn out to have documentation suggesting different sequences. Relationships that should have been established recently have evidence of much earlier origin. Capabilities you appear to have developed quickly show signs of much longer cultivation. These observers are experiencing the side effects of retrocausal architecture. When you reshape past causation from present positions, you're not just changing what happened, you're changing the evidence, trail of what happened. The timeline adjusts to maintain consistency. Memories remain mostly stable because individual consciousness stays anchored to its original experience. But external records, physical evidence, and collective documentation shift to align with the adjusted causation. Most people never notice these shifts because they're not looking for them, and they're typically subtle. But careful observers sometimes catch the inconsistencies, moments where their memory doesn't match the record, where the documented history doesn't align with their recollection of events. The architects observe that retrocausal architecture is what makes temporal sovereignty truly powerful, rather than merely perceptive. If you could only see time non-sequentially but not act across it, you'd have interesting perspective without capability. But you can act retrocausally. You can establish causes from temporal positions after their effects, arrange foundations after constructing what they support, create your own preparation retroactively as present circumstances require. This makes you genuinely unbeatable through conventional strategic means. Opponents can study your history and find perfect preparation for current success, but they're studying a history you're shaping from present moments. They can try to learn from your past decisions, but those past decisions are being influenced by your future knowledge. They can attempt to identify patterns in your historical behavior, but those patterns are flexible rather than fixed because you're actively editing the historical record through retrocausal action. You're not just outside their timeline. You're the author of your own timeline, writing it from multiple temporal positions simultaneously. The architects are now analyzing why destiny selected temporal sovereignty rather than conventional kingship for this particular moment in cosmic unfolding, and they've identified something profound. The challenges facing this era can't be solved within sequential time. The problems that matter most right now have roots in the past and consequences in the future that are so deeply entangled that addressing them requires operating across time rather than within it. Linear approaches fail because causes and effects are distributed across temporal dimensions that sequential action can't access. Destiny pointed to phantom rather than king because phantom is what the moment requires. Kings solve problems within their reign period. Phantoms solve problems across time itself. Consider the nature of truly complex challenges in this era. They're not simple cause-effect sequences that can be addressed through wise decisions in present moments. They're tangled webs where past mistakes create present pressures that will generate future crises, but addressing them requires changing not just future actions, but past conditions. Sequential strategists are paralyzed by these challenges because proper response would require time travel, going back to prevent earlier mistakes, jumping forward to prevent later consequences, being in multiple moments simultaneously to coordinate responses. These capabilities seem like fantasy to those trapped in sequential perception. To you, they're operational reality. You can address these temporally distributed challenges because you're not trapped in present moments trying to reach backward and forward. You're actually present across the temporal range, where causes, conditions, and consequences exist. Some futurists and systems thinkers understand intellectually that time-distributed problems require time-distributed solutions. They write papers about it, develop frameworks for thinking about it, create models that attempt to account for it. But understanding intellectually isn't the same as capability operationally. They can think about addressing multiple time periods simultaneously. You can actually do it. They theorize about causation that transcends sequential progression. You execute it routinely. Their frameworks are aspirational, describing what would be needed if temporal sovereignty were possible. Your operations are practical, demonstrating that temporal sovereignty is actual. This gap between their theory and your practice is why destiny pointed to you rather than to them. Intelligence about what's needed isn't sufficient. Capability to deliver what's needed is what matters. Others are working on what they consider long-term solutions, strategies that span decades, plans that account for future generations, investments that pay off over extended timelines. These efforts are admirable within sequential framework limitations, but they're still fundamentally constrained by having to work forward from present conditions. They can plan for long time frames, but they're still planning sequentially, making present choices that will influence future outcomes through normal causation. They can't reach backward to adjust past foundations, can't operate from future positions to reshape present conditions, can't coordinate action across time itself. You can do all of these things. You're not planning for a long-term future from a present position. You're operating across the entire temporal range simultaneously, arranging past and present and future in coherent architecture that addresses challenges holistically rather than sequentially. The architects observe that destiny's selection of temporal sovereignty over conventional kingship represents cosmic pragmatism. The universe doesn't distribute power based on what seems fair or traditional. It distributes power based on what's functionally necessary for the challenges at hand. This particular era requires someone who can operate outside time to address problems that transcend time. Conventional kings, no matter how wise or powerful, remain trapped within sequential causation. They can make brilliant decisions in their present moments, but those decisions still propagate through time in limited ways. You're not making decisions in present moments that propagate forward. You're making decisions across time itself that influence past, present, and future simultaneously. This is what destiny recognized as necessary. This is why the line pointed to phantom rather than king. Not because phantoms are better than kings in some abstract sense, because temporal sovereignty is what this moment requires, and conventional kingship isn't sufficient for what's needed. The universe drew its line toward the capability that matters, and that capability walks outside time itself. Now something's beginning to happen that confirms destiny's selection was correct. The challenges that seemed unsolvable through conventional approaches are starting to resolve in ways that appear miraculous to sequential observers. Problems that should take decades are shifting in months. Tangled situations that should require sequential untangling are somehow becoming clear without the expected intermediate steps. Historical obstacles that were supposedly fixed are turning out to have been more flexible than anyone realized. The architects call this temporal solution manifestation, and it's the visible evidence that someone is working across time rather than within it. These solutions aren't miraculous. They're the natural result of retrocausal architecture applied to complex problems. But to those operating sequentially, they appear as impossibilities becoming actual. Watch the specific pattern these solutions follow. There's no visible hero solving them through extraordinary effort in present moments. No dramatic interventions that observers can point to and say, that's when it changed. Instead, conditions seem to shift almost naturally, as if problems are solving themselves, as if the universe is spontaneously moving toward better configurations, as if reality is self-correcting in ways that favor positive outcomes. This pattern is your signature. You're not solving problems. through visible action in present moments, because that's not how temporal sovereignty operates. You're adjusting conditions across time so that problems never become as entrenched as they seemed. Obstacles never were as solid as they appeared. Solutions were always more accessible than sequential thinkers believed. The spontaneous appearing resolution is actually carefully orchestrated temporal architecture. You're making it look effortless because the effort is distributed across time in ways observers can't perceive. Some people are attributing these positive shifts to collective evolution. Humanity is maturing. Consciousness is expanding. We're naturally progressing toward better ways. This attribution preserves their worldview by suggesting progress is emergent property of collective development rather than result of individual action. They're not entirely wrong. Collective evolution is happening, but it's not spontaneous. Someone is facilitating it through temporal architecture. That makes evolution seem natural when it's actually guided. You're not forcing change against the grain of collective development. You're adjusting temporal conditions so that collective development flows toward beneficial outcomes rather than destructive ones. The evolution is real. The spontaneity is illusion. The guidance is invisible because it operates across time rather than with invisible present moments. Others are experiencing what they consider extraordinary, lucky breaks. Situations that seemed dire suddenly have unexpected positive turns. Opportunities emerge from nowhere. Resources appear just when needed most. They're interpreting favorable outcomes as fortunate coincidence rather than orchestrated arrangement. This interpretation makes sense from within sequential framework, where good fortune is either random or result of visible cause-effect, chains they can track. They can't see temporal architecture because it operates across dimensions they don't perceive. To them, retrocausal solutions look like lucky breaks because the causation appears backward. Benefits manifesting before causes that create them become visible. What they experience as fortunate timing is actually temporal coordination. What they interpret as lucky breaks are architectural features you've established across time itself. The architects observe that temporal solution manifestation validates destiny's selection by demonstrating results that conventional kingship couldn't achieve. If this era's challenges could be solved through wise leadership, operating within sequential time, destiny would have selected a wise king. But those approaches were tried and failed. Generations of intelligent leaders working within sequential constraints couldn't solve temporally distributed problems. Destiny selected temporal sovereignty because temporal sovereignty is what works. The problems are resolving, not because humanity suddenly became wiser within the timeline, but because someone is finally operating across the timeline in ways that address root causes and downstream consequences simultaneously. You're not just a different kind of leader, you're a different category of existence. The phantom that walks outside time, solving problems that require temporal transcendence by actually transcending temporal limitations that constrain everyone else. The miraculous appearing solutions are simply evidence that the right capability was finally brought to bear on challenges that required it.